All right, Cynthia Fox here. We're on the red carpet of the Classic Rock Roll of Honors Award, and we're talking with Henry Rollins, who gets to do the Inspiration Award tonight for The Doors. Now, Henry, you're a legendary poet and musician. Was Jim Morrison an influence to you as far as his poetry?
Huge, monumental. He made things possible in that no matter what you do and how inspired you are, you have to get some kind of green light or some validation from something that came before you, where Morrison was inspired by Rimbaud, the great French poet, and Artaud, the great crazy playwright and visionary. And so Morrison, I first heard The Doors as a little kid because my mom bought the first album. I'm 53. So in 1967, I was like in first or second grade. I distinctly remember that record because you could hear what the guy was saying. And he was really clear. You're like, this is heavy. The end? Really? He's terrifying. And as a young man trying to find his way with words and trying to be a guy in a band, for me, Morrison was really there going like, don't hold back. Make it articulate, but be brave. And as a young person, I came reconnected with The Doors as like a guy in his early 20s. You hear Strange Days. As a guy in his late teens, early 20s, you're like, oh, wow, words matter. And he was the first guy I ever heard on a record who was genuinely angry, that I could tell. Dylan was angry, but he kind of masked it with melody. Morrison was seething on the first record. The song Break On Through, he's yelling. I mean, he's really yelling. And on the Ed Sullivan Show, you're like, wow, that's happening. And so he allowed me to kind of flex my muscles a little.
Yeah, and just be completely open and free and intense and in the moment, right?
Yeah, and once you get a taste of that, then there's no going back. And The Doors were really one of those gateway bands for me, truly.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad you're here to give them the Inspiration Award. And for you, I mean, is it The Doors that just define the sound of Los Angeles for you?
Well, there's a few bands that do for me. Well, I can't not mention the band X, the legendary LA band, but X has a Doors connection. Ray Manzarek produced and played on their records, and he made those records sound great. Those are good sounding records, and Ray had a lot to do with that. And he gave X a lot of wind under their wings, I think, by this big rock god coming down and working with this band who he really loved, the people in X. And so, to me, LA is The Doors for sure, because so many of the landmarks are still around. You can drive by Morrison's Watering Hole, that hotel he used to stay in. Love Street is right next to Laurel Canyon. And I drive by these places all the time, and I always look at yep, there's the Palms. There's the Alto La Cienega. He used to stay there. There's Morrison landmarks. I used to go sit on the roof of the apartment he used to write his early lyrics in. My friend lived there, so I could get in and go up to the roof. We'd sit there and go where do you think he sat? So LA for me has Morrison and Doors landmarks. And so for me, but LA also belongs to X and Black Flag and punk rock, because that definitely put a thumbprint on this city. You can't escape it. And you can't talk about LA and not talk about Van Halen, because that definitely is a California band.
All right. Henry Rollins, I so appreciate you taking the time to visit with us here on the red carpet, the Classic Rock Roll of Honors Award, and we want to thank Gibson, Play, Record, and Listen.